The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Thomas, one of the 12, called the twin, was not with them when Jesus came. So the other disciples told him, "We have seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see in his hands the print of the nails, and place my fingers in the mark of the nails, and place my hand in his side, I will not believe." 8 days later, his disciples were again in the house, and Thomas was with them. The doors were shut, but Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Put your finger here and see my hands. Put out your hand and place it in my side. Do not be faithless, but believing." Thomas answered him, "My Lord and my God." Jesus said to him, "You have believed because you have seen me. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe." The Gospel of the Lord. I think Thomas must be one of the most famous apostles, even beyond the Christian world, because we have the phrase, the doubting Thomas. And who of us haven't doubted sometime in our lives? What about right now during lockdown? We are doubting that we are being given the right information to do what we have to do so that we do not die. It's incredible. Politicians who should be leading us are doubting each other and making us inconfident because we're not quite sure if we are getting the truth, if what other people are telling us is the truth. So we doubt. It's a normal, natural human instinct, and it is a good instinct not to be so gullible that you believe everybody and you never discern between right and wrong. And so Thomas was one of those people. And remember, in the life of Jesus and the disciples, many, many things happened every day. But only the most important were remembered and written. And they were written many years after they happened. Sometimes 50, 60, 100 years after the event were they written down. So it must have been something very important that Jesus was telling us here. Thomas was a poor, illiterate, apparently, fisherman. Apparently, he more than likely couldn't read and write very much. But it didn't stop Jesus from choosing him. Jesus saw something within him that was needed for the message that he was preaching. And we see from the little we know in the Gospels that he was the one that seemed to be kind of fearless. When Jesus was called to go to Lazarus and the other disciples seemed to be saying, "Well, to go to Lazarus now, even though he's sick and he's your friend, is kind of dangerous." And Thomas says, "No, let's go. Don't worry about that. Let's go." Thomas was the one after Jesus had died, had these concerns. I don't believe that he's risen. No. Let's be clear. Don't try and bluff me. And so Jesus comes back specifically for Thomas, it would seem. And so then Thomas, once he'd realized this whole thing of believing now, I really am what I said when I was alive, that I'm going to die and rise again, and that you must go and make disciples, then he realized, I must now be my real person, be the real person I was called to be. I must be courageous. And this man, Thomas, went east, right through to India. Other disciples went north. All of them went north. St. James went west to Spain. So in the first years after the resurrection, they all disappeared. And remember, they didn't have SMSs and all these things to stay in contact and to share information. They just went with what they knew. And all they knew was that Jesus was God. And they went and preached about this one person who wanted to have peace on earth. So what do we learn, especially in this COVID time? We learn that we need to believe in what is real. They went into all kinds of countries and all kinds of different languages and people, and that didn't bother them. They were courageous. Why? Because they believed in Jesus. In our COVID times, it is our belief in our Lord Jesus, in his resurrection, in his power beyond the fake news, his power beyond our uncertainty, beyond our doubts, that is going to set us on a path of peace. Because he says here, I've come to give you peace. Peace be with you. Peace be with you. And only when we can reach the stage, as with Thomas, is my Lord and my God, it is a total acceptance, as we have got to try and find a way of absolutely accepting that our next 2 months may be worse than what we've already had. The threat of level 5 is hanging in the air. And it's going to be a lot more difficult if we have another level 5 now than it was before, because people are starving. Even yesterday when I went to Verulam, I had to be turned off the road because there were 3 roadblocks, three demonstrations, protests, because people are hungry, people are scared. It's going to happen more and more. We're going to doubt. And the only thing, in my opinion, that's going to hold us together in this time of being pulled this way and that with lots of doubt and lots of questions is believing in the power of Jesus to show us the way through this stage. And I pray that for all of us today, we will reach some place of peace where we can say, my Lord and my God, my family is dying, there are riots, people are hungry. But if I'm faithful to you and courageous in following you, we will find a way. Amen.